Hello everyone, and as VM, who's on camera with me today, pulls focus from the acacia thorns to the plated lizard, we would like to welcome you on this live safari. This is a creature we do not get to show you very often, so it's a bonus, a great way to start off the afternoon, and it is called a giant plated lizard. I guess it's not really a giant, it's probably only 10 inches from the tip of its toe to the tip of its tail. But it is a big lizard, no doubt, and I think it's probably out trying to bask in whatever little bits of sunlight or warmth may be permeating through this cloudy weather that we're experiencing. It's about 25 degrees Celsius, 77 degrees Fahrenheit. My name is Scott, and like I said, I'm teamed up with VM on camera. James is out on the other vehicle. He's with Brian, and you're going to be heading across to him now. We're in an area that we're about to lose signal in, and we don't want to delay. We are on the search for the Nkahuma pride of lions and a couple of the Birmingham males. Tracks of theirs indicated that they came onto Djuma last night, but because of a heavy downpour of rain we got early this morning, a lot of those tracks have been washed away. Anyway, James is also coming into this area. We're both going to search, and we will now be sending you across onto his vehicle as we go through a low signal area. Wish us luck, and we'll see you shortly.
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to this, a cloudy game drive in the northeast corner of South Africa. Scott has welcomed you with a lizard. I was going to welcome you with a bee-eater, which has subsequently absconded, and therefore I welcome you with the sight of a dead knobthorn tree staring up into a gunmetal grey sky. My name is James Hendry, and it is quite a somber afternoon, given the fact that there is this sky, but we're actually quite pleased for it. It has been a beastly hot summer, as many of you regular watchers will know. Now, I would like to know from you how you feel about this weather. Does it make you feel somber? Does it make you feel full of joy? Does it make you feel, I don't know how it might make you feel, but I would like to know, so tell us. Hashtag Safari Live if you happen to be tweeting, all questions at WildEarthTV if you're on the email. Otherwise, get hold of us on YouTube if you're watching on YouTube with the YouTube chat. This is a mechanism of communication that is beyond the realms of my understanding. Many of you, however, are more social media savvy than I am. Now, our plan is to go and help Scott to try and find those lions. We don't know where the tracks went. The tracks obviously crossed before that shower of rain we had this morning, so they left their mark on the road, disappeared into the block, and we didn't see them again. So with any luck, we'll be able to pick them up. On camera today is Brian Joubert. That's his thumb there. Decorated, as you can see, spectacularly. Well done, Brian.
Thank you.
Very nice. Very nice thumb design today. And my name is James, for those of you who don't know. And if you didn't know, well, that's not a problem at all. Here we go. Brian, there's nothing left on that dead knobthorn. It's on its own. Right. Now, Heidi, you are obviously somebody who's not very demanding at all, easygoing human being, and you say that for the first hour you would like lions, elephants, and leopards. Not demanding at all, you have to leave after 60 minutes or so. I will do my best to find a leopard, an elephant, possibly some elephants, and a lion for you to look at before you have to go and do whatever it is that you have to do. I can't believe there's anything in the world more important than watching what we're doing out here, but you know, some people have different priorities, I suppose, Heidi. There, Brian, that'll be easier. Now you can see me. Is that better? Yes. I can now feel my sternum crushed up against the front of this steering wheel here. Now we're driving through the middle of the reserve, and we had a very small shower this morning, probably about 5 or 6 millimeters, so not much. That's about a fifth of an inch. Hello, Toto Pod. The way this weather makes you feel is almost as odd as your Twitter handle, Toto Pod. You say this weather makes you feel bletchy. I don't know what that means. Do you know what that means? No. Totopod, please tell us what you mean. I think I also feel the same about this weather. It sounds like I might feel. Bleachy, blechy maybe? Not so good. That's how it normally makes me feel, unless it's been at the back end of a low-felt summer, in which case it makes me feel deeply happy and grateful for the shade, the coof, the fact that I may have to don a jacket, and the knowledge that when I lie my head finally down to sleep tonight, it will not be on the sweaty sheets, but indeed I will be covered with a light duvet. And Sharon, you say cloudy days make you feel introspective. I feel exactly the same. You know, I was walking back to the camp today. I'm not sure where I was walking from, actually, and I suddenly felt quite introspective. Almost sad, not quite sad, but certainly a sense of slight heaviness, I suppose. Luckily, that has lifted from me, and now I am my normal, joyful self as we drive through the wilderness trying to discover new things. Bless you, Brian. Bless you, Brian. Bless you again, Brian. That's the last time. Brian does get a little bit hay fevery, especially if there's been a bit of wind. Now, Scott was not far from here where he lost signal, and he went up that way. We're going to sort of crisscross where he's been and go and follow up in the same sort of area. Diane, you say that there are alarm calls coming from Djuma. Diane, how do you know? Is the camera back up and working? I don't even know. Okay, right, so some kind of alarm calling guinea fowl around Djuma. Well, we'll keep an eye out. I know that Aubrey and Tax are going out this afternoon. They haven't left yet, so if there is something around there, they will be around to have a look. This is where we saw, I don't know if any of you were with us, that donkey-sized waterbuck the other day. Looked like a small donkey that had escaped from the local community, but in fact it was a waterbuck. Was right around here, and I haven't seen it again. And I hope the little fellow has survived, perhaps rejoined his family. The tiniest waterbuck I'd ever seen. So Scott went up that way. We're now going to go through the middle here, sort of crisscross where he's been. We think the lions are somewhere in that fairly vast expanse of woodland over there. Any luck, we'll be able to find them. Certainly their tracks. Regina, you say you're in southwest Pennsylvania where the sun never shines, it's always cloudy, and you say you're always somber as a result. I'm sorry about that, Regina. I'm sorry to have brought you more somberness with our weather. But unfortunately, it is not within my power to bring back the sun. It will apparently return with a vengeance during the course of next week, so fear not, Regina. Your African rays of sunshine to cheer you up will be hieing to you in high definition, probably from about Monday. Now we just need to keep an eye on the road to make sure that those lions didn't come wandering across the road here sometime during the course of the morning. It has been a cool day, and as many of you will know, the lions will move on a cool day like this. Well, not always, but they can. They certainly wouldn't be averse to hunting, and the last cool day that we had those lions on, they were killing a zebra, which would be very exciting if they'd do the same. Now, Fiona and Genevieve, you say you are very pleased for the weather. You're grateful for the shade that it is giving us, and you say bring on the insects, the arachnids, and the mushrooms. Oh, we'll see if we can find some mushrooms for you. Certainly, when we have any more moisture, any more rain, we'll get a couple more dung beetles and a lot more termites emerging, and that will in turn bring out the arachnids. Let's head across to Scott. He's got some insect-eating birds to show you.
Well, this is a bird that we don't very often get to show you good views of, so we thought we would bank this opportunity. It is a European bee-eater. Some of you who were on the sunset safari yesterday would remember seeing flashes of them flying past in the sighting with the lesser spotted eagle, feeding on the reproductive termites that were emerging. Oh, and off it goes. Great agility on the camera there, VM. Didn't miss a thing. So, we are just passing the Buffelshoek waterhole, which is just behind us, and I'm gonna head back onto our northern boundary just to check very carefully to see if I didn't miss any tracks or signs of these lion that we were tracking this morning, or at least attempting to. They didn't in fact cross out of our property. We are not sure what's going on. I just got a report from Ephraim saying that he saw a male lion track crossing, but I fear that he may have been confused with the baby hippopotamus track that also initially confused me. When I initially saw the track, I was like, oh no, there go the lion into Buffelshoek waterhole. But on closer inspection, we did actually work out that it was a tiny baby hippo with tracks about the perfect size to resemble that of a male lion. But now I'm doubting myself and whether I may have missed an actual lion track, so we're going to head back and check what's going on. There's a few very fine drops of drizzle falling on us, so it's a bit of a catch-22. Of course, we want the rain desperately for this ecosystem, which is incredibly parched at the moment, but it does mean it will make our safari a little bit difficult and possibly have to call it off if it does get too heavy. But it's too soon to panic.
Afternoon, mobile station, any updates?
Hello to Virginia, and you would like to know if there have been ever any further sightings of that elephant car that we saw with the hugely swollen belly. There was even thoughts that we may have even seen that little baby kicking within her belly. But no, sadly, Virginia, no further sign of her. The tricky thing with elephants is that they're not territorial. So unlike animals like Karula or the Inkuhuma lioness, it's very difficult to keep track of animals like elephants. So I guess that's a great pity. It would be wonderful if we could get to know them as well as we get to know some of the other stars of the African wilderness, but they don't have territories or home ranges. They are free-roaming, nomadic creatures. Interesting. We've got some feedback regarding James's question, asking you guys about how you feel about this overcast weather. And Diane's mentioned if she was here experiencing this weather, it would put her in a good mood. No ways. What have you spotted, VM?
Leopard.
Where's it? Oh, can you believe it? You are a legend, VM, and this is just the most awesome. Oh no, don't be a runner. It could be Gijima, it could be a male that we've never seen before. It is a male. Well spotted, VM. We're on Buffelshoek Dam East Road, and he's heading down in towards the drainage. He doesn't look comfortable with vehicles. It could be the same leopard that was seen by Brent just the other day. It doesn't look like the biggest of males to me. I'm just going to give him a moment to kind of try and get a little bit used to us, rather than putting huge pressure on him, but we do want to try and keep an eye on him. Obviously, well done, Viv. That was an epic spot. Yo! Can you believe it? Now, I don't think we must put too much pressure on this leopard. So I'm not going to ask James to come rushing into this area. It's not going to be hugely useful, I don't think. But we will try from a distance just to let him know that we come in peace. We don't want to give him a hard time. Can you see him moving through the FM at about 10 o'clock?
He just lied down?
Did he?
Yes.
Perfect. He just lay down right behind that log.
I see spots a little bit.
Can you see a few spots there? I can't. If we could view him from a distance, it would be first prize. And that way we could slowly kind of try and reassure him that we are not here to harm him. And this is wonderful behavior to witness, because many of you would never have seen how a leopard will naturally act in the wild if they are not habituated to vehicles. So I'm just going to... Okay, now we've got a view of him here. It's not going to be great, but I can see him, and that's all we want, is just to keep an eye on him from a distance. If you just zoom in there, I'll direct you to him. You'll find him, and then there we go, spot on. You've got him just up a bit, and you're on him. So we're just going to keep this view. I know it's not great. I know it's nothing like the views some of you guys have shared with us with the various leopard that we see on a regular basis, but this is how you habituate them. One example of how. Keeping an eye from a distance where they feel comfortable, and you can see he's watching us, and it's been over a week since we've seen a leopard, so this is a very, very pleasant surprise. Searching for lion, finding leopard. That is the joy of being on a live safari. You simply do not know what is going to happen and when. Now, because we had such a brief view of him, I can't tell exactly how old or young or too much about him, but hopefully that will change as the afternoon unfolds. No, why now? Why? Look at the way he's keeping an eye on us. This is so awesome. And this is how leopards can act and will act in normal circumstances when they are naturally shy and elusive. We're just gonna VM. Oh, well done, VM. Good call. He's just popped out into another gap there, straight in front of us. A few more decent views. He looks like a decent-sized male, but not a brute. He's not an old big male. Oh, here comes a scent mark. So that's interesting. Oh, now we're getting some good views. He does have a bit of a dewlap on him. His belly looks fairly full. And this is awesome. This is a new leopard for everyone involved on Safari Live. Who knows who exactly he could be? And who knows what I should do? Oh, this is tricky. he is going to keep following the small drainage line or riverbed. So I just want to try and slither us into a decent spot where we may be able to get one or two more views of him. He doesn't look old to me. I'd peg him at about a 4 or 5 year old male coming into his prime. I can hear a squirrel alarm calling wildly behind us. Here he comes, Liam. 10 o'clock. Look at this. This is too good. Please take lots of screenshots. He's a beautiful male, and we might be able to work out where he's come from or who he is. This is great. He seems to have already relaxed quite a lot, and he's about to pop out into the open. Look at this. Very pale eyes. A distinctive notch in his right ear. That's a very clear characteristic. It looks like he's got a very clear spot pattern as well. Doesn't feel comfortable out in the open. But he's not a big old male, and that'll explain why he is here. Here comes a scent mark. This is great. You can make your home here. But only if you promise us to become a little bit more relaxed, which I'm sure he will. Over time, we can gently persuade him that we are not bad people, and that he has... Not that he does think we are bad, it's just that this is how leopards naturally act. They are naturally shy, naturally elusive.
Need towards the road. Cross the road.
Okay, he has crossed.
Yeah.
Watch this branch behind us here, Liam. Hold tight, everyone. We're going to have to do some fast. Possible. Crowder, you said he may be Makombo, a young male leopard from I don't think he is. Makombo is completely relaxed with the vehicles, so that is why I think he is a different male. He could have come from the Manyaleti Reserve, or, oh, we picked up a little passenger. So, I've just seen him veer me straight ahead of us. I just saw the white tip of his tail. He's crossed over this road. Now, I'm not going to call the sighting in because it's just going to create unnecessary pressure on this leopard, and we're just going to keep this little secret to ourselves. And that way we're going to have a far better chance of trying to get him relaxed with the vehicles, but it is not going to be easy. This bush he's moving into is quite thick now, and I'm almost inclined to maybe just try and get one more view and not push the boundaries too much and not put too much pressure on him. Yeah, I think we should maybe actually bank this as the last possible view through there. He just disappeared. We'll definitely call it in over the radio once we are done, like I said, so it's not going to be a complete secret from the other guides, but as you can see, we've got enough on our plate now, just trying to stay with him. We're not going to be able to stay with him any further here. Not on this side of the riverbed that he crossed through onto. So let's see if we can't just coast along a little bit. We may get another view, but I'm going to be content not to try too hard, because hopefully over time he will, if we treat him nicely, he may do the same thing. Alice in Ohio, no, this is definitely not Gijima or quarantine. This behavior is indicative of a leopard that has not grown up being exposed to humans and or vehicles. He has come from a remote part of the Kruger, perhaps an area where, like I say, not many seasoned safari goers will be, and therefore the animals do not get gently habituated. I think we should call it quits, everyone. As you can see, the bush is very thick, and we've had good sightings. You can see he wasn't comfortable with us, but we did get some awesome moments. He did walk very close to the vehicle, much closer than I thought he would. Through a big open area where he got a little bit nervous and ran off, but that was absolutely wonderful. To see a leopard respond to us like that really gets my heart racing. Just going to get on the game drive radio now. And VM, well done again. There are many hundreds of people who are praising your spotting skills, and a new leopard is something that we don't get very often, so that's awesome. And he could be setting up shop here, which is interesting because he could well then have to come up against Tingana, the dominant male who pushes up against him. And this is the old territory of Mvula, so I guess it also indicates that Mvula really is making space for younger blood to come through. Stations had a brief glimpse of a nervous Marora Ingwe on Buffelshoek Dam East. He headed east, quite close to the Buffelshoek firebreak. Didn't attempt to follow.
Afternoon, Scotty, thank you.
For the record, he had a distinctive kind of little notch missing off his right ear. That was all I could really see. Wonderful. That was so cool. We got some great shots of him. So again, not only well done to VM for spotting that animal, but to also being able to bring you guys such great images in what was a very, very exciting moment for us all. So thankfully we managed to remain mildly composed. Yeah, I'll put him as a young male. That's, you know, just like Quarantine and Gijima have moved out of our area. Two young males that grew up here. They were born to Karula, the female leopard of this area. Just like they moved off, as will all young males, they'll move out of their natal territory and then start looking for a property of their own. And that'll happen anywhere from about 3 years of age to, well, until they find a territory of their own, which could take up to about 5 to 6 years of age when they'll start doing that. So let me know your thoughts, any of the leopard experts amongst us. I'd be interested to hear what you think. Well, Heidi, you're in luck. I know you did ask James that you want lion, leopard and elephants all within the first hour of drive, because that's the only amount of time you can allocate to us. And at least we got you one out of those three, and more importantly, I'm a firm believer in quality sightings over quantity in terms of length of time of sightings. And that right there was an absolutely epic, high-quality leopard sighting of a different nature, but to see a leopard respond like that to us is something that I haven't seen for a long time, and something that many of you would never have seen. And you can just imagine what it's like to be on the opposite end of an animal that is that sneaky and sly and has the ability to dissolve into the thickets like it did. And like I often say to you, sometimes people are worried about the way we off-road after leopards, and as if they don't have the ability to escape if they didn't want to. But they do, and that was clearly evidence in the way that leopard just responded to our behavior, or to us at least. Wunderbar. I'm gonna drive along in the general direction that he was moving in. He could pop out anywhere, and we're gonna send you across to James with some zebra.
Now there's some zebra there up ahead on the road, and that's a fairly obvious statement, just a quick comment. Wonderful to see a new leopard, and I think very interesting that leopard, possibly the same one Brent saw a few days ago, and quite possibly heading into the territory of Mvula. Mvula getting past the age where he's going to be able to defend himself against a young buck like that. Are we witnessing the end of his reign? Time will tell. Keep tuned to find out. Now, when we came along here, these zebra came herring out of the block here. They were running at a great speed down the road, and they're now staring into the bush where I thought maybe the lions might be, but I thought maybe they now were running from the lions. I see no tracks at the moment. We're going to drive slowly down here. We'll do a loop around and then a sort of figure of 8 motion, I think, if that's okay with you. Brian, is that okay with you?
It's fine with me.
Oh, thank goodness. Right, here we go. I don't think they're heading into where there would be lions, but they really did come rushing out of this block. But they weren't alarming, which indicates to me that they weren't in imminent danger. And for those of you who don't know what a zebra alarm calls sounds like, Brian, would you like to demonstrate it?
I think you're better.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Okay. The zebra goes like this, everybody. I won't be able to look you in the eye while I do this because it's ridiculous. They go.
Officer, which girl are you checking?
See, look, they're watching. Now, just look through the woodland here. These guys look pretty chilled out now, but they certainly weren't when we saw them. So we'll go around the other side of the block there, just see if those lions perhaps aren't that side. We haven't seen them crossing out of the reserve. I did chat to Taxon earlier. His tracker reckoned that the tracks were probably from last night, early last night. So, you know, they could have gone quite far. See them melting into the strychnos thicket here. It's a black monkey thorn thicket. And this particular part of the reserve is covered in these black monkey thorns. And I think black monkey oranges. I think it's quite indicative that although a lot of people will tell you there are too many elephants around, I think this species is a real indicator that there perhaps aren't enough elephants around. It's certainly encroaching. You can see as we drive through here that it kind of grows in these monospecific stands. In other words, it grows on its own with not much around it. Now, Wolfgang, you are obviously not a new viewer because you know that we have a sausage tree here. Now, everybody, Wolfgang would like to see the sausage tree and its progress and how it's doing at the moment. Wolfgang, the sausage tree, sadly, we can take you past it, has produced no flowers and no fruits, therefore, this year. I'm not sure if that particular sausage tree ever did, but I'm going to assume that it did, and I think that's probably purely because of a lack of water this year. So the sausage tree has produced nothing. Now, for those of you who don't know what a sausage tree is, it's a tree whose botanical name is Cagelia africana, and it makes these giant pods like that, sort of like an enormous knockwurst, if you like, and they're very hard and very heavy, and you can make cosmetics out of the sort of cream inside them, but they're not particularly edible. In fact, they're not edible at all, and taste very nice. They also make gorgeous red flowers, which are pollinated by bats and orioles. thank you, D. Armour. You say that my call of the zebra was excellent. Thank you very much. That's very kind of you. Now, that call, of course, gives rise to the common Afrikaans name, which is quagga. It's an onomatopoeic name, because apparently it's saying quagga, 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 quagga. I've never heard a zebra say the sound. Have you? No.
Not lately, anyway.
Not lately, no. Hello, Anthony James, you're on YouTube. And just before I address your question, we've got a very interesting little reptile here. And he doesn't want to be seen. This is a fascinating one. He's the less common tortoise species that we get here. He's called a Spix hinged tortoise. I want to show you his hinge. I'm not going to pick him up. Can you see over there, Brian? Can you see that?
Yep.
My stickers. Just there, there's a hinge. And what he does is he closes his carapace in on his back legs. And that just makes him even safer than a leopard tortoise would be. A leopard tortoise has a completely solid carapace, but these hinge tortoises have got a little hinge there, so he's able to pull that area there straight in under his back legs, which I think is the most amazing adaptation. Isn't he lovely? He was moving quite a speed across the road. We're lucky we saw him. All right, on you go. Sorry to disturb you. He will be in search of things, believe it or not, like the giant land snail. He's not a completely herbivorous reptile, that one. And while the little leopard tortoise will wander around the place eating fresh shoots and leaves, the Spix hinge tortoise can be quite carnivorous. They also eat pill millipedes, if you can believe it. Delicious pill millipedes. I'm being facetious, of course. There he goes. And you can see, those of you who have been watching for a while, you can tell that he's a much flatter species than the other one and much less conspicuously colored. And it's an interesting one. We were asked yesterday why it is that a leopard tortoise should have those black and gold colors, which seemingly make it more obvious. And I think it probably is because the leopard tortoise lives in a slightly different habitat. You'll probably find that this tortoise lives out in more open areas like this, where the leopard tortoise will hang around in the shade of bushes more than the Spix hinged tortoise would, I would say. Anyway. Now, Anthony James, you say you're a new viewer, you're on YouTube, and you say, okay, cool, but how do I make this as a job? And you say, how do you get into it? Because you do love animals. Well, a prerequisite for a love for animals is certainly, I'd say it's a first step, Anthony James. The next thing to do would be to try and get some form of guiding qualification, just so that you can familiarize yourself with not only the animals, but the trees and the birds and the soils and the grasses and the general picture of the ecology that goes on in an area like this. And then I suppose, well, we're the only people in the world that do this, you know. We're the only people in the world taking live safaris, certainly on a daily basis. One or two others have tried. I think there was one on Good Morning America the other day, which was one woman standing in the back of the same thing at all. We all got very worried that enormous competition was coming. We weren't particularly terrified when we saw the result, though. So it kind of applied to us, Anthony. Well, not me. That's well beyond my pay grade. But anyway, that's how you did. So, Anthony, I don't know if you missed any of that. We did lose a little bit of audio. The other thing, of course, you need, it's quite interesting. People say, well, you know, you've got such a lovely conservation job. It must be beautiful being in the world. It is. That's exactly one of the reasons that I'm out here. But this is not a conservation. It's far more a presenting job than it is a conservation job. And if you don't enjoy the look of 3,000 people barreling down on your face through the camera, which some people don't and some people absolutely love. They're a difficult job for you to do. Just got a little, look at that beautiful bird. A Cape glossy starling. Isn't that lovely? Look at the colour juxtaposed with that sort of golden green. Isn't that stunning? And its bright l'orange eye. I think that's just beautiful. I actually think it's a greater blue-eared glossy starling. I don't think it's a Cape glossy. Okay, as soon as we move in this area, everybody, you're going to lose our signal. So let's head back across to Scott, see what he has to show you. We're going to do a sort of figure-of-8 loop around and see if we can't pick up tracks of those lions. See you shortly.
So, no major updates here. I'm not too sure what to suggest regarding these lion and or their lack of tracks. It makes it difficult to guess where they've been. I must admit though, I did miss one track. The track that I accused Ephraim of thinking was a baby hippo was in fact a male lion. Whether the rest of the Nkulma Pride crossed with that male lion, but merely their tracks were washed away by the rain, I'm not sure. But it doesn't matter, as we've learnt just a few moments ago. Even though we may be looking for lion, not really knowing where they are, you can bump into anything else along the way. Hello Doodles, and good to have you with us. You've just mentioned how much you enjoyed having this sighting of a new male leopard, because it's made you appreciate and understand just how lucky we are with the habituated leopards of this area. And you're entirely correct, and it's something we probably don't hammer home enough to you guys, is that the Sabi Sands is one of the best places in Africa to see leopard. There are many other places in Africa where you can see leopard that are habituated, but this is definitely one of the best spots. So we must remember that and not take that for granted. And judging by his behavior, you can see and imagine just how tricky it would become if we didn't have a seasoned veteran like VM on the back. We would never have spotted that leopard. So, yeah, we must appreciate the habituated animals, and also just remember that it's not only leopard that require habituation. If you are to go into remote parts of Africa, which there are many parts of Africa which are incredibly remote, where people will hardly come into contact with animals and vice versa, there, lions, elephants, rhinos, buffalo, you name it, every wild animal that sees a human or a vehicle for the first, second or third time will run away from it. It'll say, hang on, I'm not interested in this and I'm getting out of here. And it takes a long time of gentle persuasion and habituation to make animals understand that we are not actually a threat to them. So I guess we owe a lot to people who had been coming to this reserve, for example, from the 1960s, armed with only cameras and maybe video cameras and photograph cameras, trying to capture and document these animals. There's a big mud wallow that's filled up, and that's going to be making our lives and finding animals difficult until they dry up again. Well, hopefully they won't. Hopefully we continue to get rain as we should in the summer months. You can see there's been an algae bloom. But this is certainly not going to mean that the waterholes are not going to be as productive. The Djuma waterhole camera is not going to be getting as many customers as it has been. But that is good. It is typical of a rainy summer in the Leopard. The dry months are when we rely, in the winters, when we generally rely on better waterhole viewing. Hello Tammy and Paul, you guys are both interested to know my thoughts on this, what looked to me like a young male leopard, and why he would have moved out of his territory in the first place, and what's Tingana going to do. Well, spotted VM is possibly the one who should have been driving today. He just spotted that lilac-breasted Arola. Very pretty bird that would have been great to view from its perch, which was very nearby, but I missed it. Well done, VM. So, firstly, I don't think he's ever had his own territory. He, like most young male leopards, up to the age of about 2 to 3, will lurk in their mother's territory or their father's territory, and they'll be tolerated within their mother's and their father's territory because they're their children, but only up to a point. I guess no different to the way humans should be treated. You know, you get nurtured up to a point, and then once you're big enough to look after yourself, you must get kicked out of the house and start fending for yourself. No more pocket money, etc. And it's the same with leopard. From about 3 years of age, they will be told to head out into the big wide world, just as we would, and start fending for themselves. And what will typically happen is that between 3 years and 5 to 6 years of age, they're going to be flying below the radar, lurking in dominant males' territories, and just, you know, fine-tuning their hunting skills, getting bigger. They're not nearly big enough to take on males who would be dominant at around 6 or 7 years of age, when they are half that age. So I think he's getting to that point now where, you know, he's found this little corner where there's maybe not too much leopard activity. Tingana we don't see here too much. Mvula seems to have moved away, so maybe there's been a bit of a vacuum that he's been able to move into without too much other leopard density here, or at least male leopard density. But he is getting to that size and age, again, this is just my theory, where he will be able to start actively competing against the bigger males. But that takes time, and he's just going through that kind of natural progression of getting there. It's not an instantaneous, one day you are relying on mom, one day you're a big dominant male. He's just going through the motions, not quite there yet. He didn't have a big dewlap. He's still got some growing to do, I thought. Aha, Jennifer, you are thinking very smoothly here, and I like the way your head is working. You've said if he hangs around you and he spends some time with a habituated leopard, won't that help us habituate him faster? And yes, it most certainly will. But leopards are solitary, so how is that going to work when they are mating? And it's interesting, I've seen female leopard who wasn't habituated before. She was a nightmare. She occupied a territory right slap bang in the center of a property where I used to work in the southern Sabi Sands, and she would not let you see her. Even if you found a drag mark where she would have dragged her kill that she's made across a road, follow, find the kill up in the tree, you wouldn't even get a glimpse of her running away from that kill, or even see her around the kill. Before you even got there, she would have disappeared. And the only time that we started to see her was when she was mating, because we would be able to follow 2 sets of tracks, not one. And the male, once we found him and her, she may run off, but he would stay there. And as you guys would have noticed, it's the leopardess that have to do the work with the males. So she would come out of her hiding place and then do her little leopard lap dance to try and seduce him. And as he would start to mount her, she would move closer to bushes. So she would keep kind of luring him with these lap dances until such point that they were disclosed in the bushes, and then they could mate. But it is a good example of how when a habituated leopard and unhabituated leopard join up, which is basically only when they're mating, you will have opportunities to spend more time with them. And it's just about spending more time with them, that slowly and surely you will hopefully get them habituated. There's no guarantees though. You know, all leopard are different, and some may be naturally more relaxed with people than others. I guess Gijima and Quarantine are a good example of that. 2 brothers who were exposed to all of the same behavior, yet one was far more relaxed with the vehicles and our presence than the other. Good stuff. I'm not too sure where to go next, so while we try and work that out, we're going to send you across to James.
Well, I have to confess I'm in the same boat as Scott. I'm not really sure what to do next after this either. We're driving along Leadwood Road. The zebras looked like they were running from a position just in front of us. So with any luck, there'll be a pride of lions lying on the ground there. Otherwise, I think we'll probably abscond and go somewhere else. They could well have walked off the property sometime during the course of that rain or just before it, and we wouldn't have seen their tracks going anywhere. Which is deeply irksome. Anyway, that is just the way of things. Now, Stacey, you are Eric Moore's husband. Hello, Eric. Hello, Stacey. And Stacey, Eric, of course, is yes, Eric is Stacey's husband. That's correct, not the other way around. Okay, good. Now, Stacey, you want to know about leopards, and if they were injured, would we think about helping them, or would we just let them be? Stacey, it would depend on the nature of the injury. If we thought that they were injured, there's a kudu over there, exactly where I thought the lions were going to be lying. There's lots of kudu here. If we thought, Stacey, that the leopard had been injured by a human being or by some kind of anthropogenic effect, so perhaps a snare from a poacher or perhaps got caught in a camp or something like that, then we would definitely do something about it. Brian, we've got no picture. We're back now. Definitely do something about it, but if we just found a leopard limping along the place, then we wouldn't do anything about it at all. What we would do is probably just let things take their course. We try and have as little effect on the wilderness out here as possible, but obviously that is not always possible. I think with something like an endangered species like a wild dog or a cheetah or something like that, we'd probably get involved. That said, that's the official policy on things. I think you'd find that if we found a leopard with a serious gash on it, say it had run through a bush and really torn some muscle quite badly and looked like it was going to die, I'd say it would be about a 50-50 chance as to whether the Sabi Sands, which is the conservation authority in this area, would try and help the leopard or just let it pass into the night, as it were. Now, these are two magnificent male kudu, bulls, as we call them, and they are, I think, just truly spectacular. It's no wonder to me that they are the emblem of the South African national parks. Not only are they very beautiful, but they occur in just about every habitat type that we have here in South Africa, save for straight grassland and pure forest. So they occur in the dry regions of the Karoo, up into the Northern Cape and the Kalahari Desert, and they occur all the way out here in the far eastern reaches of what is, I think, the most beautiful country on planet Earth. Now, Jack, you are in Romania. That is very nice. I'm not sure we've heard from you, Jack, before. And Jack, Romania, obviously not a place where you do too much in the way of safari. But Jack, you want to know what time is the best time of the day to go on safari, to look for animals. Jack, pretty much when we do it, you know. First, early morning, and then as we go into the evening. Most of the animals out here are what we call crepuscular. Now, what that means is that they are active round about dawn and round about dusk. At this time of the year, it's normally very hot during the middle of the day and very few animals will do anything. And then at night, of course, it's not a bad idea to be out at night, but you do have to have very specialized equipment in order to see everything that there might be around during the course of a night time. So nice one, Jack. Thank you. Is this the first time you've spoken to us from Romania? It would be very nice to know if this was your first time, and wonderful that someone all the way from Romania is watching us. And we were discussing capital cities today in camp. I'll put this question through to the final control. What is the capital of Romania, Leanne and Nicola? A very slight Scotch mist blowing in, so a bit of sort of soft, gentle moisture coming out of the air. I say Scotch mist, it's not very Scotch at all. Scotch mist would, of course, be accompanied by probably a very strong wind. I think Nicola just used Google to help her there. The capital of Romania, of course, is, Brian, Bucharest. Indeed, she has just admitted that she used Googly. She Googlied it, Brian, she Googlied it. Just going to look carefully underneath the bushes here. Hello, Kruger guy. You live in the United Kingdom, you say, and you use Safari Live to increase your learning. Well, that's a good thing, I suppose. I'm glad we're able to add a little bit to your knowledge. And please don't forget to ask us questions if you want to. Anything specific. It doesn't have to be about what we're looking at. It can be anything about South Africa or Africa if you like. And we will do our level best to give you a first-hand account of whatever it is that you want to know about. Hello, Marianne. You say that on your Good Morning America show, where they did that live safari in Kenya, the guide there said that a hippopotamus is able to control his buoyancy through air in the gut. Now, you say, well, you've been taught through Safari Live that hippos cannot float, that they sink to the bottom of the ground. I think what you'll find, Marianne, is that they don't float like you and I will float, and I don't think it matters too much how much air they have in their guts and how much they don't. What they do, though, is change the buoyancy. Now, buoyancy doesn't necessarily mean floating. So if you watch a hippo in very deep water or deepish water, they will walk along the bottom of the ground, and then they have to bounce up to the top and have a breath, and then they'll sink down again. And I think what you'll find is that some of that air might go into the gut to help them breathe, at least to help them to float up to the surface and then sink again. But if you think about it carefully, the only place that a hippopotamus can really put air is into its lungs. It could suck it into the gut, I suppose. But if it did that, then it would float almost permanently, which I don't think it necessarily wants to do. But it might change the buoyancy, be able to go up and down at slightly different rates, depending on how much air it has in its gut. But they definitely do not float in the same way that you might float. There are my favorite antelope just up ahead. Oh, Scott has got some mongoose, but if he doesn't mind, I'm just going to quickly look at these nyalas. Some beautiful nyala bulls. Don't want to look a gift horse in the mouth, Brian. Last two drives we went on, I didn't find any mammals at all. It's a whole bachelor herd of young nyala bulls here. There we go. And they're beautiful. These is kind of, they're not any of them full-size nyala bulls yet, which is why they're tolerating each other and happily moving with one another. A little bachelor herd. In fact, this is a very large bachelor herd of nyala bulls. And while we look at them, Sparkle, you're in Toronto, which is of course in Canada. And Nicola, it's not the capital of Canada, even though you might think so. And you want to know how big the area that we traverse is. Sparkle, it is 1,500 hectares, and in acres, I think you work in hectares in Canada, but in acres that would be about, you multiply by 2.5, we're looking at roughly 4,500 acres. So not a massive piece of land compared with what it might be in various parts of this area, but that's our kind of signal limit at the moment. Certainly plenty big enough to provide exquisite entertainment and really nice discoveries on a daily basis. Okay, from the Nyala Bulls, let's head across to Scott, find out what he's got. I think he's got some little mongoose to show you.
So, from a much larger mammal to one of the smallest, at least of carnivores that we get to see in this area. Sadly, it's just poked its head right behind the bush. It was positioned perfectly. VM, I wonder if you can see that one that's higher up, right closer to the top of the mound that's poking its head out. No, there's bushes obstructing you there. But there is one also kind of slap bang in the center of your screen. As the wind blows the leaves, you can faintly make out its face on the top left-hand corner of your screen. But there's good news. There's lots of members of this little troop of mongooses, and they have got a number of little kind of cavities and holes that they're living in, some of which are in this termite mound to our left, but they'll also have holes that are underground, also old termite mounds, but not the large fungus growing termites that create these large mounds. And they'll also use little fallen down logs and tree stumps as little areas to seek refuge and shelter. So we are going to wait here for a second and see if the adults with their youngsters, oh, there goes the youngster. Oh no, VM was busy leveling it off, but at the far tree stump, VM will be your best bets, I think. There we go. There you can see a head poking out of the ground, and that looks to me like a mother. A youngster just popped in next to her. I'm sure if we just wait a moment or two, we'll get to see them all coming out and playing around. They're basically the size of a rat, I guess, is something that a lot of you would be able to relate to. It's a very small mongoose, hence the name of the dwarf mongoose. Oh, that looks like a youngster there. Yeah, it is. It's half the size of the adult. Look at how cute that is. I think I can see the head of another youngster poking out there. Could be several litters, it appears, within this troop. Look at how quick they are, clambering to their next point of safety, which again was a termite mound there. So they'll know this area well, and that is what puts them in good health, I guess, against other predators that will feed on them. Being so small, they are basically at the bottom of the food chain. Oh, there come a few more youngsters. And just like the prey animals, small predators like this will be incredibly nervous in windy conditions. They are going to be losing their ability to hear as well. Any kind of leaf moving above them or tree blowing in the wind may resemble an eagle swooping down on them, so that's why they'll be on high alert. I'm not sure if you can hear their high-pitched communication. Psst, 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 psst. It's like a very high-pitched whistle almost that they use to communicate with one another. Good. Hello, Ken, and very happy to hear that you love these live safaris. Thank you for those kind words. And you're interested to know, how long would it take for a termite mound to be formed? It That is a question that I will not be able to answer accurately, sadly. I have no idea. But they are phenomenal structures, and I mean, obviously depending on the many variables, the food, the luck of any given colony, you know, the weather conditions over that period of time, I'm guessing it's going to be, you know, at least 10 to 15 years for a decent sized mound to be developed. But I've never been fortunate enough to watch one from start up till present date. What will happen though, Ken, is that when a queen does die, other queens may take over from that termitarium, so you may find different generations of queens rolling over. It won't only be one queen that raises her empire, dies, and then it all collapses and falls dormant and becomes a very important structure for other animals, I guess, like mongooses. Some will be carried on, and I'm guessing the massive ones that we're seeing are ones that have had multiple queens over multiple generations. The queens can live for quite some time. I don't know why, I can't think of the exact age that they can live for now, but I'm thinking it's in excess of 10 years. I think it's 10 to 15 years that the queen can survive, so quite a long time. I stand to be corrected there. And they certainly are very interesting and important structures in our ecosystem. To know a little bit more about them would be wonderful. Hello Tom and Dallas, I'm just going to shoot through this little dip. The signal can sometimes be shaky here. Big leopard poo. Always exciting to see. Are you still with me, guys? That is a very big and tasty leopard dropping. Who knows who it belongs to? Maybe the leopard we just saw a little bit earlier. I'm going to jump out and show you its track though. And also play around with that poop to see how fresh it is. Can be difficult, just like us. Leopards will have different consistency poops depending on the day. This looks like quite a solid, healthy poop. Okay, the leopard. I just want to make sure I don't come downwind of it. But here you can see its paw prints. This is the clearest one, and I'm using my flashlight to simulate the sun. 1, 2, 3, 4 toes, the back pad, and oh, there's a little grasshopper in his one toe that boinks, he disappeared. Whew. This is smelly. Okay, now I think this could be from sometime during the course of the day. The tracks are on top of the rain, so it's definitely after the rain fell at about 5:30 till about 6 o'clock this morning. So the leopard was here quite recently. How recently though is difficult to tell. I'm going to get a little stick to probe this. Nice and solid, but this is probably the way it came out. Lots of fur in here as well. It's a male leopard's track, not a female leopard's track, as far as I can tell. And what I'm going to do is this is our northern boundary, so a tricky area to try and track down a leopard, because he could well have disappeared north. If he crosses over here, then he'll disappear out of our property. So if you don't mind just giving me a moment or two to try and establish whether in fact he's continued along this road, whether in fact he may have crossed north, or whether in fact he may have crossed into Djuma, thus giving us a hope of trying to find him. We will obviously hopefully have some good news for you. So James is ready. We're going to have a quick snoop around here and give you an update in the next couple of minutes.
Okay, we've done a figure of 8 around that block, and I found no sign of any lion whatsoever. Indeed, no cat, no predator, nothing. So we're going to do one more drive along another road, the only road that we haven't driven so far in this area today, and we'll see if something pops out there. If it doesn't, let's rather go and look at that elephant. What do you think, Brian?
Yeah, good idea.
There's an elephant just up ahead, everybody. Look, there it is. Look how cleverly hidden it is. Looks like a bull on his own. Might be a herd. I can only see one, but you can see how well hidden he is. And therefore, it is quite possible that there are others also hidden in the woodland. I love the way the grey juxtaposes with that golden orangey green. Anyway, he's in quite a nice area. It's a very pretty area in there. Let's see if we can get a bit closer, and hopefully he won't react to us, and he will be calm and enjoy having us around rather than moving away. That's a spot of luck, Brian. First large animal I've seen in days. What have you got? Oh my goodness, look at that. 2 Batellier eagles. What a brilliant spot. Isn't that magnificent? Look at them. Now this pair lives around here. I haven't seen them in that tree before. They've got a nest close by, and the other day there were 3 of them. There were 2 males and the female, and we wondered if he wasn't sort of trying to usurp and take away this fellow's lady, or if perhaps it wasn't a youngster from a previous sort of child raising. But it is unlikely, because it does take them 7 years to get to that adult plumage, and the other bird that came in was definitely fully adult. So that is the Batellier eagle, and you can see a very clear indication that his feet are not feathered all the way down to the legs, which means that he's not what we call a true eagle. And they eat largely carrion. They will eat sort of reptiles and the odd snake as well, however. Now, Adam, interesting question from you. You've been reading the Africa Geographic blog, and you say that they posted a picture of a martial eagle having killed an impala. I've seen a very similar one very recently of a crowned eagle doing exactly the same thing. Now, it would have been a young impala, probably from this year. And Adam, you want to know how it's possible that a bird of, say, 12 kilograms is able to kill an impala of, say, 20 to 30 kilograms. How on earth can that be possible? And how does the kill happen? It's normally on impact, Adam. The talons, the strength in the tarsal muscles of a martial or crowned eagle is quite astonishing. If they were to stand on your wrist, like they do if you're doing falconry, for example, they have the strength enough to crush your bones. So they could break your wrist just by standing on you and squeezing. So they've got incredible power in those talons. They also will hit their prey with an immense force. So they'll come in at an incredible speed, drive their talons into the flesh of their prey. Normally, and the prey will be killed outright. Otherwise, if it isn't, they will then keep sort of jumping up and down and squeezing their talons into vital parts of the body and pecking viciously. They are not to be trifled with. And I have, Adam, actually seen it. I've seen martial eagles taking young impala. In my first week, actually, as a trainee guide at Phinda down in Natal, we watched 2 martial eagles come flying down into this floodplain, and they smashed a baby impala. It was the most astonishing thing to see. The crowned eagle, of course, is renowned for having the most powerful talons and powerful tarsal muscles, and what they are renowned for doing is killing monkeys. And they grab them on the back of their head, and they drive that rear talon straight through the back of the head, back of the skull. And in fact, we found pre-hominid or hominid remains in South Africa that seem to have been killed by crowned eagles. They have one sort of single, very distinctive hole in the back of the skull, quite possibly from a crowned eagle. Marvellous. Well done, Brian. I thought it was a leopard, but it will...
Almost.
Almost. Nice battalier. Well done. Elephant is just up ahead. Let's go and have a look. I thought, as VM found a leopard, maybe Brian would also. I don't think this elephant is particularly pleased to see us. As we saw the battalier, he did kind of turn with his ears out as if to say, I'm not comfortable, go away and leave me alone. Let's just see. If he isn't comfortable, we won't spend any time with him. And elephants will not normally, on days like this, be as comfortable as they are on still days when they can hear and smell. And it's an evolutionary throwback, I think. They've got almost nothing to be afraid of out here. And he's just melted into the bush. That's unbelievable. He's somewhere through here. So while I was waffling on about the battalier, he slinked off. Now, Tony, you're in London and you're wondering about the Sand River. And the Sand River is about 3.5 kilometers from, 7 kilometers from us as the crow flies, directly behind where we're driving. And you want to know if it is dry all the time. It is not. It is actually a perennial river. It's dry at the moment, though, because of the drought. It is dry. So there's the odd pool left in it, but otherwise there's nothing in it at all. And in all the years that I've been in and around this area, I haven't seen it dry. And you see him. Brian can see him. And while we're trying to find this elephant, calcitrant fellow that he is, Tony, you want to know if the denser vegetation is more heavily populated, more thickly populated? Is there more game there? Yes, certainly it definitely is. I mean, the rivers are definitely concentrated areas for animals to move to, but they also move away from them up to places like this, where there's good grazing a lot of the time and some good browsing, and also especially they move away from the rivers to get away from predators. You will find predators will concentrate along water sources. Watch out there, Brian. Oh, watch out, everybody. Hello, Kitty. Oh, there he is. I can just see him meandering through the bush. Now, they look like they're meandering, but if they want to move, they move pretty quickly, do elephants. And Kitty, you say you watched the rain dance that we did the other night. Oh, dear. You watched the rain dance that we did the other night in fast motion, and in upstate New York it resulted in a snowstorm. I'm very glad you think that I'm capable of delivering you weather like that. I'm sorry about it. I hope it does. Ooh, it wasn't too cold. Brian, you still there? Okay, Brian's all right. He's performing astonishing feats of athleticism, sticking his leg out, moving the branches. This elephant is strolling through here and making a fool of me. Stop, Mr. Elephant, stop. He's not running at all. He's just gently moving along, eating his tea, I suppose it would be. I think there may be two of them here, actually. There's one there. Of course, now I've driven through every single aardvark hole on the reserve. There's the elephant in front of us. Now, Mimi, you are 15 and you are in Ohio. where we get a lot of questions, and that's marvellous. Mimi, you want to know about the termite queen, and Scott was talking about her earlier. I'm just going to try and sneak over this branch without making too much noise. Yeah. Well, if the elephant's deaf, he won't have heard that. Mimi, and you want to know what happens when the queen dies in a termite mound, and no doubt Scott told you about the queen being that big and kind of an enormous bulbous abdomen that produces 20,000 eggs a day. Mimi, if she dies after her 15-year lifespan, the termite mound will normally go to ruin unless she is replaced. And she could be replaced from within the mound. That is possible. But when she dies, remember, she stops making eggs, and she's the only one in the mound that's making eggs, and those workers and soldiers don't live very long. They live a couple of weeks at a time before they die. Yeah, this elephant is trying to get away from us, I'm afraid, and so we're going to give up trying to follow him. You can just see him walking through there. We could try and get out onto the cut line, onto the cheetah cut line, and see if he isn't going to come across. We might do that, but it is quite thick in here. Anyway, this is in general keeping with my luck for the last few days. But perfectly normal for an elephant to exhibit behavior that you might consider unusual because it is windy. Like I say, he can't smell where the different smells are coming from because the wind is swirling. He's hearing all sorts of things all over the place. He looks like a young bull, which means he will be inevitably more nervous than, say, a big old adult who is very confident in his own ability and strength. So I think that's why he doesn't really want anything to do with us. There he goes. Slight view of him there. And what I would like you to look at while Brian looks in on him, you see how he's swinging. He's just swinging slightly to the right, and now he'll swing slightly to the left. That's it. And again to the right maybe. And that's him watching us. That's how they walk if they're looking behind them. They just swing from side to side, having a look at what you're doing. That was nice to see. I think we're going to leave him, everyone. I'm afraid he's not very happy to see us. He's just, I don't want to make him uncomfortable. We do have normally some great elephant sightings, so I think we'll leave him alone and continue on our way. Hopefully there'll be another one. Now, we're actually not far from the road. Let me just carry on going. B, you're 11, and you want to know if hawks and eagles kill in the same way. It depends really on where you are, B, because a hawk to you, I think you're in the States, a hawk in the States is normally different from what we would define as a hawk. A hawk out here, by definition, the word to hawk means to catch something in the air. So an eagle would normally catch something on the ground, they'd smash it on the ground and then eat it there. And you say the hawks in your backyard kill your bunnies like I've just described the eagles doing. Well, I'm sorry about that. Luckily, bunnies are very good at making more of themselves. But out here, a hawk traditionally, oh, look. Well spotted, Brian. That's a Coqui Franklin, everybody. So B, a hawk out here wouldn't really catch one of these because they don't fly. Well, they do fly, but a hawk here would normally catch their prey in the air. And something like a hawk eagle, for example, would catch a franklin on the ground. But some hawks will catch animals on the ground like the eagles do, but the word hawk means to catch something in the ground, at least catch something in the air. Isn't that beautiful? He's one of our 5 franklin species, and I think by far the most beautiful. The golden head, that is an astonishingly beautiful golden color. Look at that, that's the male. The female didn't have that golden head. As with most birds, the female is just a bit more drab than the male. Shame. fact, with all birds. I can't think of one bird where that isn't the case. I can think of many instances where that isn't the case with human beings, but with birds, not so. Now, they will be walking around normally eating seeds, and you can see him fossicking around there, trying to find himself something delicious to eat. But, of course, there are going to be very few seeds around at the moment on account of the fact that we haven't had much rain. And so what that means is that they're going to have to find other sources of food. And other sources of food for a bird like that would include things like insects, maybe the odd spider, and perhaps even a scorpion or two, a very small scorpion. Isn't he lovely? He doesn't think we're watching him, you see, that's why he's so relaxed. Very nice indeed. Now, Joel, you are clearly a highly educated fellow with regard to ornithology and that sort of thing, and you say in Kazakhstan they use steppe eagles, which do pop out here every year, for falconry. They use them for falconry, and you want to know if there's any traditional culture out here that has ever done falconry. Joel, to my knowledge, no. There is no falconry that goes on out here, other than sort of people who've learned how to do it from European traditions or from Asian traditions or even Arabian traditions. But no indigenous cultures here have ever taken up falconry. And the steppe eagle, of course, is largely out here a termite eater. It's this immense bird, and you think of him, so you can imagine him a bit like a marshal or a crowned, sort of descending on antelope and eating them and scrub hares and all that sort of thing. But instead they are largely termite-eating birds, which I've always found quite fascinating. Now, normally these things don't let us get anywhere near this close to them. They're normally running away. There's the female, Brian. If you look behind, you might just... No, you can't. Ah, now, Lucy, you say that this Coqui Franklin is a new bird for you. You're a bird list keeper, and you say that this takes you to number 175. That's a pretty impressive list of birds, I have to say. There's probably a total species list here you could expect to see if you came into the area for the first time and you spent a couple of weeks here. I mean, well, let's say you spent a summer season here. I think you'd find that the most number of birds you'd see would be about 210. So 175 on the back end of a sort of, a live safari where birds are not easy to see on the cameras, I think is a really impressive total. He doesn't seem to be doing a great deal other than watching us, which I think is quite fun. So let's press on, shall we? And Tom in Dallas, you want me to repeat the name. His name is a Coqui Franklin. That's C-O-Q-U-I, as far as I remember. Let me just check my bird app. I think I'm pretty sure that's how you spell it. Coqui Franklin, and it's an onomatopoeic name. I'll play you his call. Coqui